Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Let's get started. You may or may not know that the Read Live suite of products includes Read Naturally Live, our flagship application designed to improve reading fluency, promote vocabulary, and support comprehension. Word Warm-Ups Live is Read Naturally's research-based phonics intervention. Its audio-supported lessons allow individualization of phonics instruction and enable students to work independently. 1 Minute Reader Live is an independent, structured reading activity for developing readers. And finally, Read Naturally Live Español. The entire student Read Naturally Live interface is delivered in Spanish for bilingual learners. Our agenda today, we will go over logging into Read Live, some main navigation menu and homepage overviews. We'll add schools and teachers. We will individually add students, assign licenses and access to Read Live programs. We will go over importing multiple students at a time, and we will also talk about single sign-on options for ClassLink, Clever, and G Suite for Education. I am now going to transition over into our demonstration, and I will be logging into our staff member module. You'll notice at the top it says staff member login. If you have gotten an account created, you already received an account ID, a user ID, and a temporary password in an activation email. And you would use that information to set a permanent password to get you logged into Read Live. We are going to go to, if you click on go to orientation and resources, this is a quick 1, 2, 3, how to get started. If you get lost or you forget, here's your quick 1, 2, 3 and the orientation and resources menu. I will go to the home page. This is our home landing page. These are the tiles that are used to administrate and work in the application. The first 3 at the top here are our setup and our setup information for our account and school, our staff members, and our students. I want you to notice that here in the upper left is what we call the navigation menu. It is also a place that you can use to get to any of the tiles that are on the home page. You can also use this navigation menu. I'm going to start out at step 1, basically, kind of logically here at account and school administration. I have a few schools already created in my my account. So I've already added these. I will add another one here to just show you. Add school button listed at the top. I'm going to enter my school name. And here's your Read Naturally Live licensing. If you have multiple schools in an account, let's say you have 100 licenses for the total account, Glacier Hills has only been able to purchase 20 of those 100 licenses. I can tell the application to reserve exactly 20 for Glacier Hills. That means that they will be able to use their 20 for sure. And no one else can use those. Those will be only for Glacier Hills. If you choose the option at the top, school can use any available license within the account. Just means that any of those 100 in the account, or 125 in our case, can be used by any school. These little information icons are a good little clues here for you. You can click them and they will give you information regarding that specific detail that you have. Just again, a trick or just a tip for you. There are some of those things around that are helpful. I'm going to save and close. And we would repeat this process for the number of schools that we have in the account. And add school. And so on until your schools have all been created. What do I want to say about schools? You can edit the names of the schools. The very first time you log into your account, your first school is going to stay My School. You can just click it in blue to edit it and overtype what the school name is and type whatever you would like it to be. And save and close. All right, so we've added our school. So that is our first step. Adding schools is our first step. It is a manual step that you will do from the account and school administration page. So now, once again, I'll go to our main navigation menu. Logically, our next step would be to add staff members. This also is a manual task. So each staff member needs to be added here. And you're selecting a role for that, for the teacher that you're adding. Account administrators have full access to the entire account and anything in it. School coordinators have access to only a specific school and everything in it. Teachers will be able to add, edit, and do things to students who are assigned to them. When a license is assigned a student, the teacher becomes the lead teacher. So if you don't want administrative rights, your role here is going to be teacher. You can click this blue link here, learn more about roles. And this is a detailed account of everything that each account or that each role can do in your Read Live account. The Read Live Assistant role is a good one to use for your helpers that are in the classroom, just helping out with students. And you are able to create one generic Read Live Assistant that can be shared by multiple people. That Read Live Assistant role can do very little. So I am going to add a teacher here. I'm going to at the school. You're entering the teacher's email address because once I click save and close, this individual at this email address is going to get an email with their temporary password and instructions. I'll add one more. And I'll add a school coordinator to school. Okay, save and close. So here are my staff members that I've added. You can add as many as you want. Staff members do not use licenses in the application. So you can have as many staff members and as many roles as you want. So logically, again, now we are ready in the navigation menu once more, student administration. And we'll have multiple options here. For the sake of setting up a student, we're going to click student setup. This is this is adding a student individually, manually. So the asterisk fields, those identified with a star, are your required fields. Student user ID. A student will need a user ID and password to log into our application natively. This is not single sign-on. This is a native login to our student module. So the student will need to know a user ID and a password. It is my suggestion that you use a lunch number or something other than something that they remember or that they already know. Could be a student ID number. In a smaller account, could be just the student's first name. And for our sake here, I'm going to use the student's first name. And here I'm also going to use the same May. The student user ID is May. I made the password May as well. So this will help students logging in where they only have to enter the same thing twice. So they're remembering one thing, but they enter it twice. Licensing. Here is where we will license an individual student. It says a license is available. Do I want to license the student? I'll say yes. The students, whether or not a student has a license. If a student doesn't have a license, they will not be able to log in. They do need to be licensed to be able to log in and use the application. So yes, to license the student, I'm going to select a lead teacher. And these are the list of applications that the student has access to. Read Naturally Live is our flagship and is available by default. That's why it's grayed out and you cannot uncheck it. Word Warm-Ups Live is a newer edition. It is our phonics and uh, a decoding intervention. So if you would like your students to have access to that, you would just check the box. And then as well, 1 Minute Reader Live, we have by default turned it on for everyone. You can uncheck it if you want or keep it checked. Remember, this is our independent reading program. And then finally, Read Naturally Live Espanol if you're interested in that. I will click Save and Close. And so you see how this process goes. I could save and add another, save and add another, save and add another. In the application, teachers can create their own students and license their own students. And they would do that individually or manually, one by one. It is suggested that you use proper naming conventions if you are letting teachers do their own creation of students. However, it might be easiest for an administrator to just load in all students at one time, which is where I'm going to take us now into importing. So if we've got multiple schools, we've got multiple teachers, we more than likely have multiple students. So I'm going to take a look at and show you our importing process. So again, I will go to our navigation. This is also under student administration. And here I am going to click on student import. And the very first step has this importing student data link. Let's open that link. And here, looking at this PDF, this is the down and dirty, step-by-step exact instructions on how to create and fill out this CSV file. But I am going to kind of speed us through that process and show you. If you download, if you click this link, you'll get a downloaded template. And I will open the template. I am going to expand my columns here so I can see everything. And so this is our default template. This is what you're going to fill out with your student information. Student first name is required. Sorry. Student last name is required. Student grade, student user ID, student password. So those are your 5 fields that you have to have information in. The other fields can be left blank, but should be left as is in the column headings should be left as is in this template. So you would fill out your information, student first name, last name, student grade, user ID, and password. And again, that user ID, something they know, and use whatever you use for the student user ID, use as the password as well to help with that sign-in process for students. So you can copy and paste data from exports out of your student information systems, so you can copy and paste into this, but this is the form that needs to be filled out for an import. And so right now I'm going to show you how we can, what the import actually looks like. I have one created. So again, from the home page, we're going to go to student administration and we're going to go to student import, and I'm going to browse to a file that I have created. So I just browse to that file. I select which school. So here's a note. You do have to have a different import file for each school. So this import is for a specific school, and you're going to choose which school, and then you'll click next. And here's the result. Here's what's going to happen. These are my students' first names and last names from that import file, and how I had entered the data. I did enter a field in the import file called student email, and I was able to import that information. So it says just review for accuracy before proceeding. I'm going to click next. Schedule this import. It says clicking yes will proceed with scheduling the import. I'm agreeing on that. All right, so here's your next screen. So what this is telling me is that there's some problems. I have problems with my import. Those yellows indicate an issue. And so when I hover over that particular issue, it tells me that the value for the existing student in the account is Northview. Okay, so this student already exists and they're at a different school. They're at Northview. And I'm already using this student's email address, and I'm showing this to you to show you the errors that you might receive from an import. I did import this last night so that we could have these students to work with. So you have a couple of options here. You can again just hover over each of these to find out what the issue is, or you can print a report, and this tells you what the problem is. And this is like a report of everything that is wrong with your file. You will need to correct these errors in your import file. So you would go back to it and go back to your import file, correct any errors that you had identified, and then re-import until you get a clean import. For this particular student, I'm going to say do not import. Actually, I'm going to say update, because now what I can do is, yeah, I want these kids. They'd moved from Northview to Grandview, and these are their new emails and passwords. So I would say update existing students, click next. It'll tell us what's going to happen. Clicking yes will schedule the import, and it is scheduled to run overnight. Imports are always run overnight, and you will be notified by email when the import is complete. And I say, okay, that brings me back to my import page. And now I'm basically waiting until tomorrow where I can assign licenses and work with these students. So for our presentation purposes, pretend that it's been overnight and it is now tomorrow. And I'm expecting to see these students. So I will go to the student administration page, student setup, and here they are. I want to show you in one of the ways to navigate through the application. As an administrator, you have access to every student in the account. You have all of these column headings that can be used to filter. So if I know that I want grade 1, I can filter for grade 1 and apply, and now I have only my second grade students. Okay. The funnel is indicating a filter is set, and you need to reset it to get it to go away. So you're back to your full list. So I could sort, let's say by, I'm going to say first grade, our filter, and then I'm going to say, I could say a different school, or all schools. In this case, I only have students at Northview, but you could filter by school, by grade, any of these fields you want. And again, you're just clicking the 3 lines in front of the column heading. You're applying your filter to get that detail. And again, click it one more time to reset to get back to all students in the account. Okay, so that is kind of managing and maneuvering. So we've got our students in the account. This is overnight to now tomorrow. My students are active, but they need to be assigned a lead teacher. So again, I will go to the navigation. It's under student administration again, student licensing. Here we are selecting by school, so that's why I don't see any kids. I have to choose a school, and my kids are all at Northview. So I have found all of my Northview kids. Now I know that all of my first graders are going to be assigned the same lead teacher. So I filter for just my first graders, and I'm going to select them and holding, if you to select multiples, clicking the first box, hold Shift key down, check the last box, will get you everything in between. So now I need to assign licenses because they're not licensed. So I'm going to say assign licenses to selected, and I'm going to choose my lead teacher and say okay. So I have now done my first grade students. I know now that my second grade students also belong to the same lead teacher. So I will select all of these students, clicking the first box, holding Shift, clicking the last box, assign licenses. Oh, that one's already assigned. That's that. And so now I have my second graders assigned as well. I'm going to reset this filter. And now I might be interested in, now I just want to narrow my list down to those that are not licensed yet. I already know my kids that are licensed and they're good to go, but you can filter again by not licensed. So now these are all the remaining students that need a lead teacher. So you would repeat that process, selecting multiples at a time, assign licenses to selected at the top, to and selecting lead teacher to assign the student a license and lead teacher. If those lead teachers change, you can use this as well. This is your ability to do this in bulk, and you would just select your students again. At the top, remove licenses if they are no longer using the application, or change lead teacher if they need a new teacher. So that is your licensing after once your students have been imported. So this is the difference. So when you manually enter a student, you are assigning the license and lead teacher and applications at that time that you're signing up that one student. When you do an import, we need to then assign the licenses the following day, as well as provide access to any additional applications. So I'm going to show you that next. I want to give these students all access to Word warm-ups. So in my navigation, I'm going to go to Word Warm-Ups Live. I'm going to select my students, and I'm going to say add Word Warm-Ups Live access, or add WWL access. If I say yes, now all of these students have been given access to Word Warm-Ups, and it will appear on their dashboard when they log in. Same way to remove, select the students and remove Word Warm-Ups access. We're going to do the same with 1 Minute Reader. So go to 1 Minute Reader in your on your navigation. And again, I'm selecting all my students. And I'm going to add OMR access at the top. And now they all have access to OMR. The blue heading at the very top of the page indicates where you are in the program. So we're looking at 1 Minute Reader Live students. If I went to Word Warm-Ups, I would be looking at Word Warm-Ups Live students. For Read Naturally Live, I'd be looking at Read Naturally Live students. Okay. So that is importing. Sorry. That is the import process. Again, I'll just show you where you can find it. In the staff module, staff student administration, student import, and then clicking on the link in the first step. These are your detailed instructions. And again, here's that download that's going to get you that, that template to start with. All right, so that is importing. The last thing I want to talk about is our single sign-on options for Google ClassLink and Google ClassLink and Clever. We do provide single sign-on. This is not rostering. We are moving in that direction, but today this is only single sign-on. And on our webpage at readnaturally.com, I'm just going to open up this document. Tech topics on the knowledge base and single sign-on. We're building here. So the basic step for ClassLink single sign-on setup is the ClassLink administrator will export a oneroster.zip file from their their ClassLink OneRoster server. That file should only contain as closely contain the students who will be using Read Live as possible. We don't recommend you uploading an entire roster or student body, just too many students to manage who won't be actually using the program. So again, your export should be as closely matching the students who will be using Read Live as possible. There's no need to edit or update any of those files within your OneRoster zip file. And then you would import it just as we had in before. I'm going to go back to that same import. It's the second. Okay, so on the home page, again, student administration, and we're going to go to single sign-on setup. And when you choose your provider, and I'm going to choose, why can't I choose? So when I choose my provider, ClassLink, you do enter your tenant ID and your tenant description that you have in your ClassLink admin module. And then you would click this student import, leave enrollment as OneRoster compliant checked, click student import and browse to that OneRoster zip file to perform that import. The import will then result in the same type of information with, if there are errors, they will show up in yellow. If there's duplicates, it will ask you if you want to update or not. I will caution you if you are an existing account, an existing Read Live account, and would like to transition to any of the single sign-on options, please reach out to our technical support staff to help, because there will be areas of duplication in students if we don't take a proactive approach to it. So please reach out if you have an existing account and you want to turn it into a ClassLink, Clever, or Google single sign-on. Please reach out to us and we will help you get through that. So that is our ClassLink single sign-on. And we are going to go now, I'm going to look at the Clever single sign-on. Clever single sign-on, basically, the process is initiated by our application being requested in the Clever administrator's dashboard. So the Clever administrator would request our app. It's called Read Live. We get notification. We have our own Clever portal, and we get a notification of the request. We grant approval. The Clever administrator will receive confirmation or an email defining the required data sharing rules that we have. And once the Clever administrator shares the data for students, again, matching as closely to those using Read Live as possible, they would reach out to us at our support line to let us know that they're ready to proceed. And we would complete that setup process on our end. Generally happens within a 24-hour time frame. But again, it is an overnight process where we will import it back into Read Live. that information, or the clever single sign-on configuration information. And lastly, we have Google single sign-on. Our Google single sign-on is would be using there's a special Google authentication link that can be posted in a Google Classroom for students. All that is needed for Google single sign-on is a student's email address, which is just added as a column heading in your import template that you have, and then imported overnight. And then the students the following day would use this special Google authentication link to log into our application. Whoops, sorry about that. Just make sure I'm covering everything. I guess one of the last things I'll talk about is our help page. This is our Read Live help page. It is readnaturally.com/readlive or read-live-help. As you're looking at this page, there are lots of videos and setup information here on the left. On the right, you will see blocks. Read Live is our is the whole suite, and then you're going to get information regarding Read Naturally Live, and Word Warm-Ups Live, and as well 1 Minute Reader Live. We have lots of good training videos, lots of things to share with students and staff members as well. So please reach out and see our help page. You can also contact our technical support line, 1-800-788-4085, option 3, or support@readnaturally.com. My name is Michelle. I thank you for joining today. Christy, do we have some questions?
Sure, we do have one question. Wondering if a teacher needs to work, can a teacher work at multiple schools within an account?
Yes, when a teacher is added to an account, they are, yes, when you add a staff member, so you're filling out this information in the school field, it won't let me, Mary, John. In the school field, you can choose all schools. Where is it, Christy?
You're set as a school coordinator instead of teacher.
Right. Okay, yep, that's why. Sorry. Teacher. So here I would choose all schools. A coordinator can't be all schools. If a coordinator is all schools, they would be an administrator. So this is how you could change it so that a teacher could be working with students at multiple schools. Anything else,
Thank you.
Christy?
No, that was the only question we had. So thank you, Michelle.
Right.
I think with that, we're going to sign off from the webinar. I hope everyone got a lot out of the presentation. And just a reminder that we'll be sending out follow-up emails with links to the webinar recording in about 24 hours. And please feel free to share those with your colleagues. Please respond to the survey questions that will appear on your screen after the webinar so we can continue to improve the educational experience for all of you and our future webinars. Thank you for your participation and enjoy the rest of your day.